All right, guys, let's talk about this. This is Kneon, this is Clownfish TV, and this is war. Apparently, Critical Role is going to try to take on Dungeons and Dragons head on. In fact, they poached the lead designers from D&D. Remember, these guys quit or got gone some other way. Christopher Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, a couple of months ago from Wizards, and now they're with Critical Role and Darrington Press. I keep forgetting the name of their publisher, and they're going to be working on Daggerheart. Now, it depends on what you think of 5e, I guess. It depends on what you think about Daggerheart. I took a look at it. I'm not saying it's a bad system. I don't want to say it's a bad system, but the audience they're going for is exactly the kind of audience I'm not really interested in, which would be 20-something, 30-something Tumblrites. That is my first impression of it, and it might be a very good system. I don't know. Like, I'm definitely old school, or I'm going to play something that doesn't appeal to that audience, because with that audience, it has been my experience, come a bunch of a bunch of issues that people have to deal with, microaggressions and perpetually being offended, and gender identity inserted into every adventure, and lots of prom. And I'm not into it. But if you're into it, that's okay. I don't care. I truly don't care. And the thing is, I will give a pass to Daggerheart before I'd give a pass to D&D anyway, because this is a new system. So if this system is designed specifically for that audience, that's okay. That's okay. They can do that. They can stay over there in Daggerheart, whatever. I don't care. But D&D, from my point of view, became a pale imitation of what it once was. And yeah, there was a huge push to get rid of, all the vestiges of Gary Gygax. Like they wanted to, distance themselves from that audience as much as possible, down to the 50th anniversary book, taking pot shots at, and I think these guys were responsible. Was it Jeremy Crawford who's responsible for that? It feels like he was, off the top of my head. But they had a write up, and they're talking about where D&D came from, and they used the opportunity to attack middle-aged white dudes from the Midwest, the guys who literally invented the game, and they wouldn't have their jobs without that game. But whatever. I mean, at this point, like, look, Hasbro's going to turn D&D into a AI fever dream. They're going to license it out, whore it out to whoever wants it. Right. It would be ironic, though, if Darrington Press actually wound up publishing the tabletop version of D&D at some point, or Paizo wound up publishing the tabletop version of D&D, because Hasbro doesn't see enough money in it for them. And they're definitely trying to outsource everything. But we'll talk about this. We're going to talk about this, and then we're going to talk about this weird ass situation in Canada, that Quebec's board game scene could be nuked by this French language packaging law. They have to put French, I guess, in all the boxes, and it's going to run some people out of business. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. No, we're not Daggerheart. We're not D&D. But if you want to buy some orc pins, we can do that. Badorcs.com. Check it out. Badorcs.com on BackerKit. We're trying BackerKit from the first time. We'll see how it does. I don't know. People think BackerKit, they think surveys, and that's mostly what they've been doing, but they're actually doing crowdfunding now too. But it doesn't seem like it's, I'm going to be honest. I like it. I like the people over there. It doesn't seem that great for organic discovery. Yeah. Right. Compared to other platforms, but, we might do a round on Kickstarter too with these before we go ahead and fulfill, but, check it out. Badorcs.com. Kevin Lamb here. He's putting Daggerheart is quickly becoming a super Voltron of interlocking gayness. That's the thing. Green Knight here says, who's running D&D? Who the hell knows? Who knows who's running D&D? I know a headless chicken isn't much more than the average Seattle inhabitant, but who is running the show? Probably the guy who wrote the 50th anniversary for it. Oh, is that okay? So it was a different guy. Good. Keep all the garbage in one place. This could be very good news for old school gamers. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to D&D. Again, to me, it just feels like a brand. It just feels like a generic brand of fantasy. I mean, they're putting it on purses and pumps and literally like shoes and all this really femme stuff. And I mean, some of the clothes are okay, but like, that's not the traditional audience, right? And really the straw that broke the camel's back for me was the 50th anniversary, how it was handled. And also, for some weird reason, they decided to just, really stick it to the chuds and make the warrior from the cover of the basic set, which is a lot of people's, especially Gen X, their first experience with D&D was the red box set. And that warrior, they're like, we're going to reveal that warrior to be a thick black woman. It's like, no, that was obviously not what they're going for. In fact, they already revealed that character. Can't remember the character's name off the top of my head. I think they just called it like the fighter, but it was actually a dude with a mullet and a mustache, and they had an action figure of him and everything. It was done years ago, but let's redo it just to be progressive. So, top D&D designers joined Critical Role after quitting Wizards of the Coast from Polygon. Christopher Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, previously the creative director and the game director, respectively, for Dungeons & Dragons, have joined forces with Critical Role, the company announced Monday. Perkins and Crawford are joining Critical Role's tabletop games publishing arm, Darrington Press, to develop new concepts, innovative mechanics, and future iterations of expansions across the publisher's product line, which includes the recently launched Daggerheart. Perkins and Crawford left D&D and Magic the Gathering publisher Wizards in April on their own. Did they leave on their own, or were they pushed out? Were they bought out? Because they've been laying people off like crazy. Or did they see the writing on the wall and they're like, yeah, there's not going to be a place for us here pretty damn soon. Decades of shared experience. Together, they helped create stories and rules for beloved tabletop role-playing games, including Dungeons & Dragons, Star Wars, and Warhammer. At Darrington Press, they'll work in similar roles. Perkins is now creative director, while Crawford will serve as game director. So if you like 5e, you're going to love Daggerheart. And some of you do, and that's fine. Again, I'm okay with it. It's not my thing, but, whatever. Whatever. Just don't call people who don't like it racist, bigots, misogynists, homophobes, Nazis, if they don't want to do prom in their campaign, right? How hard is that? Storytelling has always been at the heart of everything I do, and joining Darrington Press feels a bit like coming home, Perkins said in a news release. I've loved being part of the extended Critical Role family as a regular guest over the years, and I'm beyond excited to help create new worlds full of adventure. I've always believed the great games invite everyone to the table, and that's exactly what excites me about joining Darrington Press, said Crawford in a statement. The team is passionate, wildly creative, and committed to building welcoming, connected, amazing, story-driven experiences. I can't wait to expand on what Critical Role has already created to develop some really fun and unique games. Lots of prom, lots of what they call them, glitter trolls. Is that hey, that's okay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Darrington Press publishes tabletop role-playing games Daggerheart and it was a Kindle Obscura. I haven't played either one. I'm gonna be honest. They have board games like Queen by Midnight, Till the Last Gasp, and Solar Gardens. They launched Daggerheart, an alternative to D&D, earlier this month after years of development and testing. While Critical Role built its actual play empire on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules, it has since moved on to become a competitor to Wizards of the Coast, writing its own rule sets and creating new fantasy worlds to inhabit. Isn't that like getting a knife in a dagger through the heart, right? Isn't that like, hey, yeah, that'd be like, hey, I'm a Star Wars influencer, and yeah, screw it, I'm just gonna make my own movie that competes directly with Star Wars or something. You know what I'm saying? So I guess they're jumping out of a burning building. That would be my opinion. Let's see what some of these reactions are. Memes Lich says, well, this certainly is an interesting twist. Two quote unquote retired guys coming out of quote unquote retirement to work at the same place. Where are the chances of that happening? You don't need to be a wizard to cast Fireball. I think they got fired. Or pushed out because Hasbro's been pushing people out of Wizards. Happy to see they found a new home. Let's see here. Decoy says this way Matt can actually play. Oh, look, 2 more reasons not to buy Daggerheart. Wow, this is big. This isn't a shot across the bow. At Wizards, it's right up the nose. Not since Pathfinder has someone hit Wizards so hard. Well, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me, is Critical Role still as big as it was 4 or 5 years ago? I have no idea. I literally don't. I don't know. I don't hear about it much other than people complaining that they're not woke enough or too woke, or what I'm saying? Like, but I never really was a regular watcher of it. And again, I've said repeatedly, I've met Matt Mercer. I don't have any ill will toward him at all. I actually think he's a hell of a nice guy, or at least he was when we met him. But that was more than 10 years ago. So I don't know. I just know that, again, this is kind of an offshoot. I think just like Pathfinder was an offshoot of 3.5, I think this is an offshoot of 5e, and it's just going to be like D&D's wokeness times 100, in my personal opinion, given the audience, given the demographics. I think it's going to be what's going to be, right? And if that's for you, that's fine. This person says, two very talented, clever people working with even more lovely, talented people. Yeah, that's fine. John Del Rosto and these guys wrecked D&D. Let's see what people say. No, they did not, says Jordan Blake. Hasbro did. Hasbro wanted to run D&D like nickel and dime situation. Yeah, that's true. They wanted to squeeze every penny out of us. Jeremy and Chris did not, but they couldn't leave due to contractual obligations that would have cost more than quitting. Hasbro wrecked D&D. Yeah, these guys were still making great works before the 2023 OGL debacle. D&D was wrecked by Hasbro's monetization of all D&D. That's it. I mean, look, they might have left on their own because they see the writing on the wall. It's like Hasbro wants digital slots and they want shitty mobile apps. And I've said 3 or 4 years ago, where's my apology, by the way? I said Wizards is going down a dark path. They want to turn D&D into a shitty mobile app. We probably shouldn't support this company anymore because the D&D we're playing now is not the D&D that Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson created. It's not the D&D that TSR created. I mean, it has been TSR for a very long time, but it's not even 3.5. It's very, very different. The audience is very, very different. And Hasbro doesn't really give a shit about you. And I was told, that I was a Nazi, a bigot, a homophobe, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you know the deal, right? God, I got so much hate from people. And now they're all like, oh my God, Hasbro are the bad guys. They're like Nazis. Yeah, where's my fucking apology, right? Where's my fucking apology? I told you like 4 or 5 years ago, this was going to happen. Anyway, there it is. So we're going to cover this here real quick before we wrap it up. Coming from Wargamer, Quebec's board game scene could be nuked by this French language packaging law. Okay, so board game retailers across the Canadian province of Quebec are at risk of closure, according to a Canadian news outlet report. A language law requires a majority of packaging on commercial products sold in Quebec to be written in the French language, something that game store owners say effectively outlaws the products they sell. I know for a while this was a thing with, speaking of Hasbro, it was a thing with Hasbro because I remember there was this whole era. I don't know if they still do it or not, but their action figures had the trilingual packaging and it was really annoying. Like you get a Transformer and like the whole back of the packaging was the same paragraph rewritten in 3 different languages. And then like the tech spec, if they had it, was like really, really tiny. And it's like, I don't care about, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I don't care about the other languages. It doesn't affect me. But they'd do the same packaging so they could sell it in Canada. That was like, I don't know if they still do it or not. If they do, I haven't really paid attention. They probably do. I just haven't really paid attention. Anyway, yeah, so requires most prominent text on commercial packaging, this French language charter and accompanying manuals, including board game rulebooks, to be in French. Biggest and best board games all provide multilingual instructions, and many have French packaging variants, but hobby stores rely on a diverse range of products, including miniatures, Magic the Gathering sets, paint for miniatures, and so on. Products which often have little or no French language packaging. So the game store owners in the report want tabletop games and all the products surrounding them to be recognized as cultural products similar to books, which are exempt from the French language charter. Well, that would make sense. It's not a new law, so it's been in effect since 1977. But the bill, let's see, they've been working its way through the government since 2022, came into effect in June, and they reworded it a little bit. And they're saying, yeah, some stores are going to go out of business because of it. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, it sucks. Don't live in a game store in Canada, I guess. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.